This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the dawn. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari here live in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where it is a gorgeous morning. We are going to see if we can figure out where the Talamati Pride got to last night. They came onto quarantine after the show, had themselves a meal of wildebeest, and then left once again. Lauren is also out and about in Djuma. We have Marcus and Paul out in andBeyond and Ngala, as well as Good morning and good morning once again. Welcome to the dawn. Sorry for any technical issues we might have experienced there, but it's all right. We've found ourselves a little sparrowhawk. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by David on camera, and as always, we are excited, delighted to have you with us. And please feel free to jump on board and send through all of your questions and comments using the hashtag WildEarth. Throw them in the YouTube chat stream. Alternatively, register or submit them on the website. Send your emails through via kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You'll probably hear some brown-headed parrots in the background. And Davy is loving his new word, accipiter, which is basically the genus name of many of these small raptors that we find. And so he's loving the fact that he's learned a new name. Now, Accipiter minulus is the scientific name for the little sparrowhawk. You can see the yellow eye, the yellow cere. It's quite little. I mean, it almost looks like a dove. Is that sort of size. It's only 25 centimeters. And feeds on birds up to the size of doves, rodents, bats, lizards, and insects. So he's just waking up, or she. Female is just slightly larger, a little bit browner in the upper parts than the male, but I can't really tell in this light. Could be a female. It's really hard to tell. How beautiful. Yellow legs. Weren't you very fluffy? Well, it's 17 degrees Celsius here. What is that in Fahrenheit? That is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, hang on, that is not a little sparrowhawk. You notice there's no little spots on the tail. No little spots on the tail. Oh, it's gone. That was possibly an African goshawk. It was very interesting. Now the little sparrowhawk. Everybody, they look quite similar. Let me just get this book out for you. Gabbar goshawk. 182. That wasn't a Gabbar goshawk. What did I say? African goshawk. That's right. African goshawk. Where are you? 194. Very close. Give us a moment, everybody. Okay, so here's a little sparrowhawk. This is exactly what we thought we were looking at. But the characteristic feature on the back, on the bum, those little yellow, white spots, we didn't see that, but it looked very much like this bird. Very much like this. So if I turn one page over to the African, you'll notice that it is the same. Pretty much looks the same. The yellow eye, yellow cere, yellow legs, but it doesn't have the white spots on the bottom. Let me just turn over. I think there might be another picture. I see the back is clear of those white spots. So sometimes you nail them straight away and sometimes you don't. I still thought that was almost 100% certain a little sparrowhawk. Anyway, it's always nice to check, always nice to learn. Characteristic differences between them. Most similar to the little sparrowhawk, distinguished by a larger size and greenish-grey cere. Screenshots, please, everybody. Lack of white on the rump. So that white on the rump is very characteristic of the little sparrowhawk. Okay, so we were going to track down lions that came and had a meal on quarantine last night. I didn't invite everybody to come and join, so I think they went north. So while we go and see if we can find some tracks, we're going to send you over to have a look at today's weather.
Good luck to Steve finding those lions. We ourselves are on a mission to go find cheetahs this morning. A very good morning and warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm Marcus Koza, and of course I've got Mpo on camera. And we are on a mission to find that mother cheetah and 3 that we saw yesterday morning for those who were tuned in. So we are heading towards the direction where they were last seen, because we didn't really see them in the afternoon. However, they were found still in the property. So the plan is to go that area, start looking for them. Hopefully they will be out and about, that we'll be able to see them, because it's close about that time where the other powerful predators like your lion, your hyena sometimes will try and want to rest because they would have been up and active during the night. And so now that cheetah might start getting active and try and hunt. If we are lucky, we might find them still on the hunt, trying maybe following impalas, because where they were last seen, there were some open areas just not too far from there. And hopefully they would have hunted something or even still be on a hunt, because as we know, cheetahs are diurnal species, so they are active during the day. And it will be quite nice to see them on a hunt. I know that the youngsters won't be that experienced yet, but the mother will probably be teaching them the ropes, and you might find that at that age they are able to bring something down, which will be quite nice to see, because there will come a time when they will need to get away from the mother and then start establishing their territories, start finding themselves, hunting for themselves. So they are not very, very small cubs. And yeah, at that age, because I did see them yesterday, they looked a little bit bigger, so they would be able to execute their own hunts. So yeah, just join me in following this. So Peter would like to know, how is the cheetah population in Ngala? So Peter, it's very, very low. It's very, very low. Like these cheetahs that we see now, we believe that they came from somewhere in Kruger. And we don't really have any cheetahs that are like this Birmingham Pride that we get to see here in our area that are more resident. So they just visit every now and then. But because of that same reason, we've got a higher density of these lions as well as hyenas and leopards, which are more powerful than this cheetah. And if it is a lot of them at the moment, the Birmingham Pride is scattered everywhere in the reserve. So it's more of a habitat loss when it comes to cheetah at Ngala. However, we do have some nice open areas where if they do come and visit, that's where they tend to spend some time. So this mother cheetah N3 was seen about a couple of weeks back in our property, and then she crossed back into Kruger, and now she's back, which is quite promising. And those youngsters are getting bigger now. Hopefully they will start establishing their territories and then making their way towards our property, which will be quite nice to see. So we are in this fairly chilly morning, about 17 degrees Celsius here at Ngala, which is about 64 degrees Fahrenheit. But on the skies there is no cloud cover, which means as the day goes by it's gonna get hot. But for now it's still cold, that all these predators might be up and about. So even the ones that were active during the night, your lions and leopards might try and fit in that one last hunt, because like I mentioned, it's not that hot yet. As you can see, the sun is starting to come up now. Just hoping that this cheetah will be up and about. Hopefully they have not crossed back into Kruger. So while driving, much as we will Thanks very much, Luna. I am crossing fingers myself that we do find them. Cheetahs are quite special animals, especially here at Ngala, because those are the animals that we don't really get to see every day. So it's always exciting when they do walk into our property and especially try spend some time with us. Because sometimes they will cross in and you find that quickly they cross out. But last time she was here, I think she did spend a good 4 days or so. We're hoping that in this case she does the same, or even a little bit longer than that. On the road that we are driving on now, there are some couple of hyena tracks, but I haven't seen a cheetah track as yet. So we'll just keep making our way towards that area where they were last seen. And much as they do blend with these grasses or this environment, like with the sun up like that, you might be able to see their shiny golden color with those black spots. So these clearings are not too far from here, where these animals were last seen. So we'll just have to look around in this area, scan the sites, see if we'll be able to pick them up. And sometimes we just have to switch our vehicle off like this. So Hector would like to know if cheetahs are more diurnal or nocturnal. Hector, they are diurnal. So like we say, they are bottom of the food chain when it comes to predator hierarchy, and most of these predators are active at night. So cheetah will be active during the day just to try and escape the ones that are active at night. However, that being said, sometimes we'll find that cheetahs hunting, they do make kills, and hyenas are quite close, in which case hyenas will come and claim the kill from the cheetah. And you know what, with cheetah, that speed that it's got, it will most probably be tired after killing something, and if a hyena then comes and steals it, then it will need to hunt again, which he will need to regain some strength after that. And so while we still try and find this cheetah, we are going to send you over to Steve in Djuma, see what he has in store for us.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. Well, we've tracked down a couple of buffalo bulls. There's some more tracks behind us of a couple of bulls. Don't think it's the herd, but I don't know. We might find more on our way along here. But these are two boys. They both look quite fit and fighting. But as what happens with buffalo, as they move around, they end up leaving groups of bulls behind as the bulls decide to move off and gain before returning back into the herd. The tracks of the lions we have not caught up with yet. We're heading north. We're doing a loop around. Everybody loves the way buffaloes look at us. On foot, it's not the same. It doesn't feel quite like that. Quite exciting. I was mentioning that Davy and I had a little bit of a semi-mock charge from a buffalo bull the other day. Good morning, Fan. I just went Gary Dam of Ubu to the north. I've just located a couple buffalo bulls here on boundary, just west of Tambuti Dam.
Okay. At the time, it's just eastern side of Tambeta 10 off. Exit over the Ngala Nkonzo, but I haven't how many Ngala.
Just updating someone on the radio quickly. Apologies, everybody. Yeah, Fan, they killed a wildebeest on quarantine last night. I think the tracks had gone north. That's why I'm going to check Gallagher in the boundary now.
Okay, good. I'm going to check the place where we left Kalamba last night, if she's still there.
Copy. Okay, so we found an injured buffalo bull whose eye was quite badly injured. I don't know what had happened at all. We didn't even get an opportunity to look. We arrived, he stood up out of the mud, and then I was lifting my binoculars to see his face, and he semi-charged us. Thankfully, he had to jump over a little bit of a, we don't even know, I think it's the way the road was designed. He had to do a bit of a skip that caused him to veer off. But injured buffalo, everybody, are formidable. They stand their ground, they don't move away, and if they want to run, they run over you. There's apparently no such thing as a mock charge in buffalo. And a buffalo wants to run at something, they run at something. So it's those lone buffalo bulls that get encountered that are potentially the most dangerous when it comes to buffalo, because their vigilance is far reduced being on their own. They don't have the numbers, they don't have the herd to detect danger from far. You suddenly find yourself within 5 to 10 meters of a buffalo bull if it just suddenly stands up out of a pan or a puddle that you hadn't seen. And when they're tucked down in the long grass, they are very, very short. So you've always got to be very vigilant of these fellows, and they're always being chased around by lions. So that's why they don't run away. To run is to invoke the lions to chase them. So that's why you'll find them standing and staring at you like that, going, "You want to jump on me?" No, Cameron, there's no growing back once the horn is broken. No growing back. Okay, we're going to carry on, see if we can find where these lions have gotten to. We send you over to JP and Johan on Bushwalk.
Good morning and welcome to WildEarth. We are currently live from Eco Training Pridelands. My name is JP Leroux, and behind the camera we have Johan. At the moment, we are at Leopard Dam, exploring and see what we can find. So it's a nice crisp 17 degrees Celsius morning, and we're just enjoying a little bit of sunshine at the moment before we start our walk. In the meanwhile, there's something interesting that we just found that we would like to share with you. And this is these absolutely stunning little funguses that are growing from the elephant dung. So when we look at funguses, they actually grow quite often off dead plant material. So they can't produce their own carbohydrates. They don't have a root system. So therefore they have to absorb the food from either dead plant material or live plant material or as in the case of a lichen that we showed you yesterday, which is a combination of algae and a fungi. Just next to it, we've also located a giraffe track. And here we can see where the giraffe was drinking yesterday afternoon. So compared to our buffalo track that we showed you yesterday, you can now see how long the track is and how rectangular the track is in appearance compared to the more rounded appearance of the buffalo track that we were looking at. We're going to spend a little bit more time over here, walk the circumference of the dam and see if we can find any fresh tracks that is moving in or out from the dam, and then from there on follow up on that for the rest of our morning.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived! Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the WildEarth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about WildEarth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the WildEarth.tv website. Join us straight after the sunset drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place. I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how WildEarth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, WildEarth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the WildEarth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching WildEarth, what WildEarth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Well, welcome back to Djuma, everybody. While we try to find our lion tracks, we found a lovely little owl track in the sand. We often talk about the owl having a K. You can see that there's the there and the there. It's moved around a bit. It might have actually been standing on something here. There's little rodent tracks over there, so maybe it landed on it. Now, I have a sustainably harvested owl foot that I got from a friend who got it from a roadkill. I can show it to you here. This is the spotted eagle owl foot, and it's designed in that shape of the K. Can you see the K? So that is what leaves that mark in the sand. Not easy to see right now. It just goes to show the imprint that this owl had done. So definitely a spotted eagle owl that landed here, and it actually walked along. The track goes off in this direction. Not uncommon to find them walking along. They look quite awkward. Their wings go like this. And they look so stately when they're standing still. And do you want to have another look at that foot? Have another look at that foot. Look at those talons. It's just harvested sustainably, everybody. I'm not out there killing animals to get their feet. This was provided to me by a good friend who does books. He's got all sorts of imagery and things, Lee Guttridge, and he was provided this by someone, obviously, who collected for him from a roadkill. You see the K. Look at those talons. Look at the size of these talons, though. Ow. And they're designed for grabbing and crushing. I mean, look at that compared to my finger. That's huge. That's huge. Clearly a little bit overkill when it comes to a small rodent, but these fellows can eat medium-sized birds and mammals as well. I'm getting bitten by flies as we speak. So the characteristic K, all owls will do that. They actually have the potential to have this toe all the way back as well when they're perching on the tree. And that's what gives them that raptor-like look. So the K, or zygodactyl.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. So we are still on that adventure of finding the mother and stray cheetah with no luck thus far. But yeah, we are still right at it. Are still in those open areas on a boundary road with the Kruger area that we can't really traverse, but so far we don't really have any tracks cutting out into Kruger that way, which, like I mentioned earlier, that's still good for us. We will just have to keep looking for these cheetahs. So they are bound to make movements, they are bound to come out sooner or later. Whether or not we will find them remains to be seen, but I am hopeful that we do find them, because it will be nice to see if they have killed something, maybe if they did feed between yesterday and this morning. And yeah, so on the kills, we will be able to see that, because there might be vultures circling in an area. So it's always worth looking. However, that being mentioned, vultures sometimes do ride thermals, especially in these early hours of the morning that the sun has started to come out. So you will just have to look at their way of circling. So if you see vultures circling while going down, looks like they are descending, then it's worth checking, because there might be a carcass close by. But with thermals, sometimes you'll just see them circling, but they will be going higher up and up as you look at them. If they catch the thermal, they just glide until they catch the next one. So far, we don't really have any sign of those cheetahs. However, I do see some vultures not too far from here, who looks like they're actually not on a carcass, but just sunning themselves for the morning in order to get some energy where they might be able to take off a little bit with ease than if it is cold. So on top of that tree there, you can see that one higher up there that has got its back against the sun. So that's one of the vulture species that we do get here, which is called a white-backed vulture. So you see how it's perched right up that tree, And as you can see, that is a dead tree which these vultures prefer to perch on. So he's got a vantage point, as you can see, when he's high up there. He will be able to see things at a good distance. And also with their wingspan, if they try and take off, there won't be as many disturbances as maybe as opposed to when he had perched in a tree that still has got foliage. It looks like he's doing a bit of preening there. So these are the sort of birds that might be able to point to us where a carcass is. And one other thing is maybe if there is a bit of hyena activity in that area. How beautiful is that? So much as these vultures are sunning themselves for the morning, I think let's keep at it with our search. And in the meantime, we are going to send you over to Phinda. Let's see what Chad has in store for us.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we've struck gold this morning. We've found that female cheetah with her one cub, and she is feeding off an impala carcass. So just for sensitive viewers, if you want to look away. You can see the mom's just moved off, but the youngster is still feeding. But my name's Chad. On camera today we've got Owen, and we came looking for this cheetah. We heard last night that she did make a kill, so she killed a young impala, and so we decided it's the best thing to do to start the morning off, coming to look for her. And we found her in the exact same spot that she killed that impala last night. It's amazing to see. Yesterday there were lots of people asking how successful the cheetahs are, and how successful this mother is with this cub. And I mean, there you go, you can see she's a very successful mom feeding her youngster. She's now quite full, so she's just moved off, letting her youngster feed as much as possible to grow nice, big and strong, and hopefully one day reproduce and have cubs of her own. It's amazing to just watch this cheetah, how it's feeding. And you can see how this young cheetah is feeding. It's got its paws next to the carcass, only using its mouth. Cheetahs are, when they feed, they're often quite cautious of where they feed. They also don't want to disturb any stomach contents or anything like that, because when they do disturb the stomach contents, that smell will often attract predators like leopard, lions and hyenas. And we were discussing yesterday, I mean, the cheetahs on the predator hierarchy, they're pretty much at the bottom. So they want to keep all those stomach contents intact so that they're able to feed without any other scavengers coming around. And I do know that last night, not too far from where we are at the moment actually, there was a female leopard seen, and there was tracks of her in the area this morning. So I wonder if maybe later on, if this impala does start to smell a little bit, if she might come and investigate. Oh, there, the youngster's dragging the carcass. Maybe it's dragging it a little bit closer towards mom. Maybe it feels a little bit safer. Patsy, these cheetahs will most definitely finish the kill, so there's not too much meat left on the carcass. There's a bit of meat around the neck, and then as well as the back. So they'll literally feed as much as possible, and also as quick as possible. I mean, these cheetah, they don't know when their next meal's going to be. So they're very opportunistic, and they'll feed until literally everything's done, or unless they sort of get chased off the kill. But yeah, they won't leave anything on that carcass. There might just be a couple of vertebra bones, the skull, but they'll mostly eat everything else. It'll be interesting to see if this youngster does drag the carcass a little bit further towards mom. There's quite a nice little open area where mom's lying, and then maybe we can get a view of the carcass just to show you how much meat there actually is left. And it's not the biggest of impalas. I did see as it lifted, it's a young male impala. You can see the body language has changed of this cheetah. You can hear it growling. Mom's also up. They're looking around. The wind also did just pick up a little bit, so I don't know if they've seen something. I don't see anything for now. It's dragging a little bit closer towards mom. So you can see there's just pretty much skin left, and then there around the neck there's a bit of meat. And this young cheetah is going to make sure to finish off all that meat. They're not too happy though. They keep looking in one direction. Well, the cub does. And the wind here on Phinda has just picked up a little bit more. So I wonder if maybe that female leopard is in the area and they've maybe just picked up a scent of her. But mom doesn't seem too phased, lying there just off to the back left of the cub. See, she's lied down and positioned herself. And I mean, it's only 7:15, but it's gotten quite hot quite quickly. And you can see that female cheetah is lying just in the shade of a nice tree, so it must be the perfect little spot for her to be resting, trying to digest that food that she's fed on over the night. I actually think I can hear impalas alarming quite far off in the distance. And I think that might maybe be that leopard. The tracks were this morning in this area, so she might be moving around, maybe even potentially looking to hunt for herself. But mom seems like she isn't resting a lot. She is interested in things around. With those impalas alarming, she knows that they're not alarming at her, so she's going to have to keep her eye out for potential threats like that leopard. I mean, she is on a little bit of a hillside, so she does have a good view over the little valley behind us. I can just hear now that it's not impalas alarming. It was actually impalas ratting. So we are coming into quite an amazing time here in the bush, which is the impala ratting season, with males chasing one another, trying to see if they can herd the females. And I think that was a noise that I was hearing just off in the distance. There's beautiful light on this young cheetah cub as it feeds on the remains of that impala carcass. And you can see every now and then this cheetah just looks up. So they'll often feed a little bit and then look up, feed, look up. And it's just keeping a lookout for any sign of any predator. Jerry, cheetahs won't scavenge. Cheetahs will only eat the freshest meat. So, I mean, I think if they do come across a carcass that's maybe potentially died of natural causes, they may feed off it, but they won't go around looking for something to scavenge off. They'll often try and kill for themselves, unlike leopard, lion, and hyena, where they'll scavenge off a couple of day-old carcasses. I mean, for instance, there was a buffalo that's died, quite a big buffalo bull, that was quite old. And there was a pride of lions that fed on that carcass for about 4 or 5 days. And it was in the water, in the baking summer's heat. And they literally fed on it for 5 days. And it was a horrendous smell that we could smell. But those lions didn't mind about that smell. Whereas cheetahs, they'll often feed on the carcass, finish it off, and then they'll move off and go and rest. Because also they know that that smell of the predator, of the carcass, is going to attract other predators like hyenas. But to answer your question, no, cheetahs, they won't scavenge. You can see, that youngster's got a huge belly. There you can see. Very, very rounded. You can see how heavily the cub's breathing. Nice full stomach of impala. It's amazing to see now that they are very full from yesterday. And cheeks, I doubt that cheetah would feed on another cheetah carcass. I mean, for instance, if a cheetah kills a cheetah, it's just for territory, or they see them as a threat. They're not going to feed off the carcass. Even, for instance, lions killing lions, what they'll do is they'll literally just kill them and then they'll leave. They don't eat the same carcass. They'll rather look and go hunt an impala or a Ngala or wildebeest or something like that. I have, however, heard of lions, male lions eating male lion carcasses, and I think that's just a dominance display. The article I read, it was that there was a male lion that killed another male lion within a pride, and he started to feed off the carcass in front of the rest of the pride. So I think that might have been just a dominance display to those females, that he is now the territorial male. A beautiful scene here on andBeyond Phinda this morning. We saw these cheetah yesterday and they were extremely hungry, so it's nice to see that they have been successful catching that impala, and now that youngster with a massive belly just resting off in the shade. Quite a nice cool breeze here. Oh, there's actually a warthog. Oh dear, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that. Just off to our left hand side. that's come into frame, and I think that's why this cheetah stood up. I wonder if this warthog even knows the cheetah are here. This could get quite interesting. Let's see what does unfold here. You see how that warthog's lifting its head up, smelling. I think it might have picked up the scent of these cheetah. Let's see what this big male warthog does now. He's almost going to investigate. He can smell that there's something around. And I think for him, he'd rather know where that predator is. Because it's cheetah, I mean, cheetah won't often hunt warthog. I mean, if this was a lion, most likely this warthog would run away. But I think because it's a cheetah, it wants to know where it is. And because it's got those massive tusks, the cheetah don't really stand a chance to hunt a warthog. It could be a serious injury that occurs if the tusk does go into a cheetah. So I've seen it before where warthogs will chase cheetah, cheetah will chase the warthog off. It can be quite entertaining. The mom is up and the cub's up, just looking. I'm not too sure that this warthog knows that they're exactly in front of it. It is a little bit of a nerve-wracking situation because, I mean, we know that there's potentially something off to the right. Now the warthog's here, so it'll be interesting to see what does happen. Now you can... Oh, there's another warthog a little bit further to the right from these cheetah. There you can just see it as it's moving. Mom got a bit of a fright that warthog just ran off a little bit. I wonder if maybe it's looping around towards where the other warthog is. That safety in numbers is a huge thing out here in the African bush. I mean, two warthogs, they've got a better chance of spotting anything. You can see Mom, she looks like she wants to move off, but maybe she just wants a better view of where that warthog is. See the youngster still sitting there in the shade, just watching. You might just hear that there are a couple of vehicles coming into the sighting. So you might hear the vehicles just moving around. They're just going to reposition and then they'll be turning off. It's amazing. This is happening right now, live in front of us. So, I mean, I don't think we're going to go anywhere for now. We're going to stick around and see what happens here with these warthogs and this cheetah.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Tswalu. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with WildEarth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Tswalu's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Welcome back, and we've just been sitting here, and Mom was up and about looking for where that other warthog went, and now you can just see they're both just resting in the shade. I think those warthogs almost lost interest, and now they've moved off. That youngster on the right-hand side is grooming herself. It was quite a chilly morning here on Phinda, so there's a lot of moisture, a lot of dew on the grass. And I can imagine when they move around, there's a lot of moisture on their skin. And also when they feed off that carcass, maybe there's a bit of blood splatter that might be on their legs. So that's what they're grooming themselves. Grooming themselves and taking off all the blood and moisture. Because you can imagine that may attract quite a lot of flies. So, I mean, they don't want to have flies around them. That's why they often will groom themselves and try and keep themselves in a pristine condition. It's amazing, they're very camouflaged when they lie down. I mean, the only reason Odie and I spotted them was the youngster heard the vehicle and actually stood up, and we were able then to see where the cheetahs were. But I think if they were lying down, they would have given us a little bit more of a run around trying to find these cheetah. Renata, most definitely the one leopard would be able to chase away these two cheetah. I mean, especially being a mother with a cub, they would easily be able to chase her away. this cheetah doesn't want to get into any confrontations whatsoever with another predator, like a leopard. So it's only going to try and survive, and so it's going to run away from this the leopard, if it is here. I mean, the leopard is a little bit smaller in height than the cheetah, but I mean, it's a lot more stockier and a lot stronger than a cheetah. Leopards are built for pulling carcasses up trees and things, whereas cheetahs, very agile animal, extremely slender, long legs, built for speed. And so, I mean, most likely the cheetah will be able to get away from the leopard. Oh, there the youngster rolls over. Leona, so I chatted to the rangers that actually were lucky enough to witness the kill yesterday, and the youngster did run with the mom when she chased the impala, but when the mom caught the impala, the youngster then just stood around waiting for the mom to kill it and then to feed. But it's around about this time, at about a year old, when what happens is the youngster will start to help with the hunts. And what mom often does is she'll try and catch quite a young impala. And with that young impala, she'll then try and take it to the youngster and release the impala, and then let that youngster learn the ropes of hunting. So I think maybe this impala was a little bit too big, and that's why mom maybe didn't release it for the youngster. But maybe if it was a very young one, she would have just left it and let the youngster try and suffocate it. It might even be worth us in a little bit trying to reposition, see if we can get another view of these cheetah. It's a beautiful area where they are lying just off in the shade, not too much grass around. So I think we are going to do just that. We're going to try and see if we can reposition, spend a little bit more time with these cheetah, see if that youngster goes back to the carcass. But for now, we're going to send you over to Lauren at Djuma to say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, Lauren is on drive. Can you believe it? It's been a tricky start, but we are finally out and about. And who is we? My name is Lauren, and I do have Morgan on camera. So, I'm a bit behind everybody else, but we are going to see if we can pick up on any signs of Miss Tlalamba. Thank goodness. Many of you sent me messages. We're worried about Tlalamba. They're wild animals. Don't worry. They don't want to be seen. They will never be seen. But I do have an update for you. I'm not sure if Steve mentioned it already, but I didn't manage to get out on drive yesterday. So Davy said, let's go on a night bumble and just look at the stars. Sometimes it's good to just drive out there when you're not working and just soak in every little moment. Then we heard some impalas alarm calling, and we thought, is it alarm calls or is it the males? It's very confusing right now, of course, because of the rutting season. He said, I can hear lions. So we literally drove maybe 100 meters, and the Talamati Pride had just taken down an impala. It was the most incredible scene to watch. It was so loud and was over very quickly. I mean, I think there was about 8 adults there, if not more. And of course, an impala is really not that large for 8 adults. It was unbelievable, and it all happened about 50 meters from our camp on quarantine. It's on my Instagram story if you want to go and check it out, and it was just such an unbelievable scenario. But of course, this happened at around 9 p.m. So naturally, once the kill is over, I believe the Talamatis have headed north. But at least I got to see some animals and, well, it was pretty eventful, let's say that. So wish me luck for Tlalamba this morning. I really don't expect her to be in the same place, but it's worth checking, absolutely. I would love to catch up with our princess. Oh, Hadida, hello. Oh, many of you are crossing fingers for Tlalamba. We had her yesterday morning, but, well, Wendy just didn't want to start, you know. She's a very temperamental girl, Wendy. But hopefully today will be fine, and I will do my very best to try and search for her. Now, there's the Hadida there, Morgan. Can you see it sitting on the dead tree all the way over there? Oh, Hadidas. They have a rather bad reputation because they do wake people up in South Africa, in the cities, but they're actually quite beautiful birds. When you look at their purple iridescent sheen, they're actually very cool. And this is the one behind all the racket that you most likely will hear on the dam cam. Jonathan, you're asking, do males and females look the same? I'm guessing you're referring to the Hadidas, and yes, they do. A lot of birds, it's very, very difficult to tell the difference between male and female. Sometimes they look absolutely identical, and it really only is size sometimes, or breeding plumage that will identify between male and female. But with Hadidas, the males are said to be slightly larger than the female and heavier build. So what that means is if you're able to see them together, then you could probably work out what one is male, what one is female. They are monogamous at the end of the day, so you will find them together often. But separately, then it becomes very difficult because you can't gauge the bill size and you also can't gauge the size of the bird. But if they're together, then you probably could guess which one's male, which one's female, but it's not easy. This is where we got stuck yesterday. So in order to search for Tlalamba, we are going to have to bash through the bush a little bit here. So we've already lost some time, so let's be on our way, Morgan. Oh, I just love it when Wendy starts. You have that moment where you think, is she going to start? And then she does. It's a relief. Now, she may not have left the drainage. She absolutely could be in there somewhere. So now I'm going to cross all my fingers and toes and head in there. I'm going to send you guys across to Marcus, who's bubbling.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, where we just repositioned a little bit, see if we could get another view of these cheetah. And you can see their mom just closed her eyes, resting in that nice little patch of sand. I think she's one happy cheetah. She's fed her youngster. She's also nice and full. And now she's just going to be able to rest for the rest of the day, I think. I think that they would spend a little bit more time around here. As I was saying a little bit earlier, that there is still a little bit of meat on that carcass, especially around the neck area. And I mean, they're going to want to finish every little bit of meat before they do move off. So I think it'll be interesting to spend a little bit of time here and see maybe that youngster goes and gets a little bit more meat from that carcass, because they never know when their next meal's going to be. I mean, they are very opportunistic, so even maybe tomorrow morning, if this cheetah does bump into, say, a herd of impala and it's a good opportunity, even though she is quite full, she'll then try and attempt a hunt. It's amazing. I've seen it before with lions. I was following two dominant male lions up in the northern parts of the reserve, and they had just finished a wildebeest, the two brothers, and they were walking down the road, and as they were walking down the road, something spooked a herd of impalas, literally ran right towards the male lions. They probably had to take a couple of steps, and they took down an impala, and they finished it completely. I mean, it just shows you how opportunistic animals are. I remember some of the guests were asking me if they would hunt again, and I said, I mean, they probably wouldn't. They wouldn't go out looking to hunt, but any opportunity they would take. And that was the perfect opportunity to be able to take that impala down. So I think this cheetah mother and this cub would most likely do exactly the same. If she doesn't have to exert too much energy to hunt, she'll definitely try and take down another impala or nyala. How cute is that little youngster's face? You can still see quite a lot of fluff on the back of the neck of that youngster. I mean, as that cheetah grows older, that fluff will almost start to disappear. I mean, cheetah cubs, when they're very, very young, they're all fluffy. The whole body is very, very fluffy, very cute. And as they get a little bit... Oh, see the mom and the cub are up. The wind also did just pick up quite drastically. So maybe that's why they're just getting up, having a look around. Mom's making sure that there's no threat around this area. Patterson, what they would do is they would often try and drag the carcass into quite a dense area underneath a tree. The reason being that if they do keep it out in the open and it's quite a big carcass, what often happens is there'll be birds like battaliers, tawny eagles, that would be around that carcass, and those birds attract vultures, and then the vultures would also attract things like hyenas, lions, and they would come and investigate. So these cheetahs would stash a kill. They'll put it under a tree, but they won't stash it to feed on it tomorrow or the next day. They would stash it to feed on it that very same day that they've killed it. So unlike leopards, where leopards will drag a carcass up into a tree and feed on it for a number of days, depending on the size of the impala, cheetah will often feed on it just for one day. I mean, these cheetah, they killed it last night quite late on in the afternoon, just as the sun set. And they would have fed a little bit into the night, and most likely they would have moved a little bit away from the carcass, just because there are lots of predators that are active during the evenings. And then I think early this morning, just before that sun started to rise, I'm sure they would have then come back to the carcass and fed on the carcass until, I mean, now where there's not too much meat left, There's still a little bit though for these two cheetah. There you can see the nose. Oh, Mum's had enough of the camera. She's just put herself behind a bush, trying to hide away from us. They're almost lying in identical positions, this mother and cub. It's just amazing to spend so much time with cheetah out here in the wild. I don't think we're going to go anywhere though. We're going to spend some more time with this cheetah and her cub. For now, we're going to send you over to Lauren.
I used to love my time with cheetah up in the Masai Mara, especially Queen Bee, Queen Busara. We followed her for such a long time. Anyway, my animal is definitely not as mobile or as alive as a cheetah's, I'm afraid, but we've had some luck. We're in the Mulwati, exactly where we got stuck yesterday, and Kalamba has hoisted. I believe she didn't hoist yesterday as far as I know, and she's put the kill very high up in this jackalberry. It is quite a substantial height from the ground, and I thought yesterday it was a juvenile impala, but this is definitely not a lamb. And we were just behind her yesterday. We were tracking. The monkeys were alarm calling. It was so unfortunate. She's definitely being more secretive than before. But with the knowledge that I have of Kalamba, if the kill's up here, she will be here. I don't know where, and I'm a little bit nervous about driving in the Mulwati right now with an unstable car, but she'll be somewhere. So it's not the most pleasant sight to see, but what I thought we could do is maybe do some birding, just do some beautiful visuals of the Mulwati, try and find some insects around and just wait. The hyena den was active this morning, everyone. All the cubs were out and sadly no adults, so we had to leave. But I think this is the best. If we want some chance or a chance to spend some time with Kalamba, I think we need to wait it out. But we won't make you look at a dead impala the entire time. We will do some birding, we'll look at some trees and insects, but she has to be around. The only thing that's going to work against us is that it's now almost 8 o'clock in the morning here in Djuma, and the sun's definitely getting higher and it's getting hotter. That might work against us. But instead of bashing through and risking getting stuck, I think we're just going to sit here with our patience pants on. Put your patience pants on, everyone. And we're going to sit and wait for Princess T. And as I do that, we're going to send you guys across to JP.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. So quite often when we are looking for animals, we'll make use of roads which has been made by humans. And the reason why is that animals will prefer to actually travel on these roads because firstly, it costs them less in terms of energy to use them to patrol their territories and to get from point A to B. But also, in the case of predators, they can use it in their advantage because it allows them to be more silent when they are walking. And one of the predator tracks that we did find this morning is belonging to that of a spotted hyena. So we can see there's quite a lot of hyena activity that came through here last night. And for those of you that don't know how a hyena track looks like and how it differs from that of other cat species and dog species, I'm going to quickly show you. Right over here, we've got a front foot, and right over here, we've got a hind foot, which is a question which we often get on a tracking assessment. We also quite often asked if it's left or right. I'm just going to quickly explain to you why it's hyena. Firstly, if we look at over here, it's got 2 lobes, and there's a slanted axis at the back part of the pad. Unlike lion and typical cats that have 3 lobes at the back. Then if we look over here, these typical banana or kidney-shaped toes, which is wedged in between one another. And then right over here, one of the characteristics which also separates it from cats, which says certain similarities of dogs, is that the nail will always mark. The same with cheetah will also be one of the exceptions where the nail will always be marking in the track. Just for interesting sake, when it does come to hyena, in appearance they do look like dogs. However, they are more closely related to cats. Now coming back to the track, if it's left or right, or front or back, if we do a little simple little exercise, we close our thumb. If our middle finger is the one that extends longer, this will indicate over here that this is left. If we look at this track over here on the outside, we'll notice that this toe over here is the slightly longer toe, which is right. And when hyenas do walk, they place down their front and the right, and then the left will come over towards the front foot. Very strange way of walking in comparison to many other predators. Good morning, Desiree, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your question, if there's animals with very similar tracks, yes. In the case of blackback jackal, as well as side-striped jackal, I cannot separate them because of the similarity between the track. When it comes to rock monitor and water monitors, I can also not separate them either. So I just say that they're water or rock monitor. Sometimes you can use additional evidence in your favor to say, okay, this habitat or the proximity of where we find something towards water, that might indicate what it is. When it comes to rodents, we also just classify them, rats and mice, as a mirror track because we can't separate these either when it comes to the appearance which we see. And then there's a number of very, very similar tracks where we just look for subtle differences which will indicate. But it also quite often helps to have good area knowledge and have knowledge of which species occur in the area which you are guiding. However, this should not be the sole reason why you answer, and you still should go through the process of elimination when you're going through the track. Once again, looking at the track, study the track, and then stepping back and looking at the big picture to try and take in as much as possible details to try and determine what species you are looking at. So the most important thing is never to jump to a conclusion when you are looking at a track, but to take everything in account.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived! Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the WildEarth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about WildEarth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the WildEarth.tv website. Join us straight after the Sunset Drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening. For many years, WildEarth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live Safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Now I'm giving Morgan a bit of a challenge right now because we're looking at a spider, but... Oh, that bird has caught something, Morgan. Look. I don't know, I can't see what bird it is from here. Oh, it's a kingfisher. Go, 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 go. It's got something in its mouth. Live kill right here, ladies and gentlemen. A woodland kingfisher with something. It's got wings, long oh, damn the gullet. I don't know if that was a dragonfly or a grasshopper. If any of you can identify what that kill was, you must let me know. #WildEarth. Isn't that amazing? Aha. Jared's saying it looked like a grasshopper. Okay. Thank you. And at least not all the woodland kingfishers have disappeared yet. They are intra-African migrants, which means they will be leaving definitely this month, before May. Now we're having a little wipe of our beak. Just like we would use a serviette to wipe the corners of our mouth, or we should. Some of us definitely should. That's exactly what this kingfisher's doing. How cool was that? Not the best view, I know. We have a large stick in the way, but I don't want to move the car because, of course, as soon as I turn on the engine, it's going to fly away. And this is sometimes why it's nice to sit in the Mulwati. Yes, we have a dead impala above us, but sometimes the longer you sit still, the more the animals become accustomed to your presence. They're not startled. This little kingfisher's not flying away. Because we've been sitting here for about 10 minutes now. That was so wonderful to see. And of course, the woodlands are here to breed and feed. They're here to make the most of the sort of plethora of insects in summer in the Lowveld. I mean, the insects are everywhere. The diversity is incredible. And insects are a really important source of protein for many organisms and can be used as a source of protein for humans in the developing world. There's lots of research and organizations and different bodies trying to look into that, providing food for some who don't have it in the form of insects. And I know that doesn't sound very nice. I mean, you can go to Thailand and eat a fried tarantula or a fried scorpion. I mean, whatever floats your boat. But no, thank you. And there's a wonderful company. The name has completely slipped my mind right now, but they've actually made ice cream from insects in a sustainable way. So they're sort of farming the insects to make ice cream. Have you heard of this, Morgan? Yeah, okay, Morgan knows about this. And they're trying really hard to create a sustainable food source for people who don't have food. They're also trying to make a jerky. So if you think of beef jerky, there's also a wonderful company that's making jerky out of algae. I'm desperate to try it. But they're also trying to make jerky out of insects. I know. I'm sure some of you are thinking, oh, right now, but it's just such a wonderful protein punch that you get when you eat an insect. Maybe a little bit crunchy, but albeit a lot of protein, fatty acids and all sorts of minerals, and therefore the woodland kingfishers come here and that's what they're snacking on. They're trying to get bigger and stronger, full of energy, so that they can mate with all the ladies. So I'm going to sit here, watch the impala who's not going anywhere and our little spider here. Hopefully Kalamba will come back, but for now you guys are going to head across to Phinda with their cheetah.
Welcome back to Phinda, everyone, where now the mother and the cub are feeding. Just a word of warning, not for sensitive viewers, they are feeding on the carcass. We might zoom in a little bit. It's just amazing that they were both just resting and now they're both feeding together. It's such a beautiful thing to see. Both with full stomachs, both feeding on the same carcass. And I think this is one happy mother. And I think also one happy cheetah cub. Got a nice full belly. I mean, sometimes cheetahs, they can go for a couple of days without feeding, 4 or 5 days. You can imagine that hunger sets in and they'll do anything for a meal. And you just see the mom sitting up. Look how she's panting. Quite a lot. I mean, she's using a lot of energy to be able to feed on this carcass. And that's why she'll often feed, then she'll rest, feed, rest, feed, rest. She needs to gain some more energy to be able to feed. I'm sure it takes quite a lot of effort to rip all that meat off the bone, try and tear through the cartilage. Kitsy, thanks for your question. I don't know what the bite force of a cheetah is, but I can imagine that it is quite strong. I don't think anywhere near as strong as, say, for instance, a crocodile or a hyena. But I mean, they do have quite small faces, so small jaws, and I think it is quite strong, but yeah, nothing like a hyena or a crocodile. I mean, you can see as we zoom in there on the face, it's quite a small jaw, small face. So apparently the bite force of a cheetah is about 270 kilograms or 470 pounds. So, I mean, it is quite a strong bite force for quite a small animal. I mean, predators having very strong bite forces to be able to bite through the bones and bite through cartilage and tear meat and things like that. So that's quite interesting that it is quite a lot. 270 kilograms is a fair amount of bite force that these cheetahs would have. Oh. Mom just went at the cub there a little bit. Maybe the cub was getting too close to the part of meat that the mom was feeding off. The cub was feeding and the tail flicked up and hit mom in the head. I think that's why she got that little bit of a fright. We're going to spend some more time here with these two cheetahs. I mean, it's amazing to watch them feed. We might try and reposition a little bit, but for now, we're going to send you over to Steve. Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. We've just spent the last little while on the tracks of the Telematis that seem to have gone through to Manyuleti. We're now back in Djuma, and we're just watching two yellow-bill hornbills having a little bit of a fencing competition.
My post. Nope, it's my post. Cool. Nothing aggressive in it. There's probably just a little bit of play. Looks like the activity is over. You all think they look very aggressive. It's because they've got a big horn on their face, I suppose. Something quite aggressive about a giant horn on one's face, don't you think? On we go. Check our western side. Elephant tracks. Having an elephant on Djuma. Some days is going the other way though. A bull. Okay, well we're going to carry out, see what we can find here on the west and send you back over to Prrivate and the bushwalk team.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Slotty. At the moment we found something very unique over here that we would like to share with you. And this one is a Schlegel's beaked blind snake. And the reason why they're called a beaked blind snake is because they've got a beak that's developed for digging into termite mounds. And then there's scales that are covering the eyes. Typical of a snake, you'll see that it's got a forked tongue which it can flick in and out to taste the air and then analyze the different molecules that it detects in the air. So quite often what we do find is that they're quite fat to the end, as they store large amounts of fat. This is also one of the largest of a blind snake species. On average, they're between 50 and 60 centimeters, but individuals can reach lengths of up to approximately a meter almost in length. I'm quite surprised that he's actually still out, and he's most likely going to start making his way back somewhere underground, close by into a termite mound, where they spend a lot of their time, as termites form a large part of their diet. So does the larvae of the termites also form a part of their diet. So although it's a snake, it's also harmless, and it doesn't pose any form of threat to us, as it can't inject any form of venom into our body. That's a pity, we just lost him. It's been quite a while since I've last seen one of these, and probably to think back, it's well over 2 or 3 months. As we've lost him, we're going to move on, and in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren.
We found another wonderful creature sitting underneath Kalamba's kill. Tropical tent web spider. In his little tent, very happy. Now, Morgan actually knows the people that started the company I was referring to, and I didn't realize that. If you are interested for a good read, it's called Gourmet Grub. And what they've done is they have created something called Ento Milk. Yes, are you ready for this? It's the original insect milk. Now, insects do not have mammary glands, so no one is milking the insects. No, they're actually creating milk from the insects themselves. And they're trying to redefine the way you think about insects as a food source. Now, hear me out. It's definitely not vegan because insects are animals, but, of course, we do eat animals, or some people do. And they're trying to create a sustainable method of providing a food source which is very high in protein. And they've made milk. They've also made ice cream. And entomilk, apparently the name comes from entomophagy, and that's a practice of eating insects. And they're using the black soldier fly to create a sustainable and environmentally friendly dairy-free alternative. Wow. Now I know some people might think that's great, some people not, but I just think that's really, really fascinating how we are evolving to try and come up with more food sources. Anyway, back to our lovely little spider here who's sitting in the web. Research actually showed that spiders are everywhere. And apparently you are never more than 10 feet away from a spider. That's about, 3 odd meters? I don't know how they could conclusively say that, but apparently you are never more than 3 meters away from a spider, which sounds slightly eerie, but of course they're hiding and, generally speaking, minding their own business. Not all spiders are dangerous. They are all venomous, not poisonous. They do contain venom. But not all spiders have the appendages to inject that venom into you. Or even if they do, even if they bite you, sometimes the venom is so weak that your body would not even react to it in any way, shape, or form. Not all spiders are aggressive. Not at all. And what they do is they some spiders have fangs on their chelicerae, and the chelicerae, oh my goodness, Lauren. I've not had enough coffee this morning. Have you got more in that flask of yours? Good, that's good. Morgan comes with a flask. It's so wonderful. The chelicerae are spiders' jaw parts. So other insects, you'll say the mandibles. But when you're referring to spiders, their anatomy is slightly different, and you'll use the word chelicerae. That's their jaws, located on the very front of the cephalothorax on a spider, and that's what they use to eat, of course. The chelicerae have got muscles, and normally they're tipped with fangs, and it's actually the fangs that inject the venom, and that's how they kill their prey. If humans come into contact with spiders, it's normally they're trying to protect themselves. You may not realize that you've sort of encroached upon a spider, but they're not out to get humans. Maybe you've just rolled over, or you put your hand somewhere it shouldn't go, and that's why they will bite you. They're just trying to protect themselves. And one of the worst ones we have here are the violin spider. They have a cytotoxic venom, so it's not going to kill you, but at the site of the bite, the venom is going to start to waste away all the tissue, then go down into the muscle and rot away the flesh. It's extremely horrendous to see someone with a cytotoxic bite from a violin spider. We've had some members of staff who have had that, and it's been a really severe injury. It can lead to all sorts of infections because it's an open wound. It can produce heavy scarring and take a long time to heal. And those are the worst ones that we really come across here. You do get the button spiders, the black and the brown. They have a neurotoxic venom. So that's not going to affect your tissue in your muscle. That's going to go straight for your central nervous system. And depending on the neurotoxin itself, it can be sort of weak or strong. It can bring on heart failure, respiratory failure, depending on what toxin it actually is. You also get the baboon spider, which has a neurotoxin, and the six-eyed crab spider. They're the most sort of dangerous ones that you will find here in South Africa. But the tropical tent web spider that we're looking at right now is harmless to humans. And it's very creative the way they set up their little tent like this. Glamping every day. Protected in its own little web, and of course traps all the prey. But if you look here, I'm not sure if Morgan can show you, there's actually 1, 2, 3 tents sitting above one another. I think they'll just glisten in the sunlight here. So there's probably 3 different spiders set up their tents on top of one another. It's like being at a festival. A spider festival. It's quite difficult to see, but you can see there's 3 different tents there. And of course the spider sits in the middle. It's the same with the orb web spiders. They normally sit right in the center of their web. Isn't it nice to just sit here and listen to the birds? Clinton, I actually just answered that question, I think. I ran through all 6. So I'll just remind you again. It's the black and brown button spider, baboon spider, 6-eyed crab spider, and the violin and the sac spider. All have different toxins. Either cytotoxic or neurotoxic. I don't know if Tlalamba's going to come back to this kill right now, but I just feel it's worth waiting out. I really want to spend some time with her, especially in daylight. But she'll be here somewhere. Somewhere hidden in the Mulwati. It's nice to be in here again. It's my favorite place in the entire reserve, the Mulwati riverbed. Mohammed, that is a good question, but let's think about it. If you're a spider that produces a web and you get tangled up in your own web, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Spiders wouldn't create a web that they could get tangled up in. They are meticulous when it comes to designing their webs, no matter which species. Not all spiders create webs as well, that's another thing, but of the web-producing species, it wouldn't make sense for them to get tangled up into it. They have spinnerets, which are specialized glands in the lower abdomen, and they use their forelegs, as in F-O-R-E, those legs at the front, to pull the silk out from the spinnerets. And the silks are made from amino acids, which of course is the building blocks of protein. And they use various different legs, I mean, they've got 8 at the end of the day, to sort of construct their web in whichever design they have. And that's what I'm saying, they normally sit in the center of it. The center gravity point, you will normally find the spider resting. The web does the rest of the work. The stickiness of the silk and the strength of the silk is going to trap anything that flies into it, from a small little insect to a much bigger insect, including dragonflies and even grasshoppers when they're flying and jumping and they jump into the wrong part. So they're not going to get tangled up in their own web because they walk very delicately. At the end of their legs, they do actually have sort of specialized little graspy feet, if you like, which helps them hold on to the web without their body, their abdomen and their cephalothorax actually touching the silk, which is really, really fascinating. So they don't sort of lay down, they're just clinging on. They've also got specialized hairs, sensory hairs, that run all the way down their legs as well. So it wouldn't make sense for a spider to get caught in its own web. It's designed so that that doesn't happen. Okay, we've came this far, so we're still going to sit in the Mulwati, wait for Tlalamba, and see what else we can find.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Graham, I'm just going to see there's a very good place. I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how WildEarth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, WildEarth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the WildEarth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching WildEarth, what WildEarth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
I love being a cam op for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. We're still with this cheetah feeding. Just word of warning for sensitive viewers, we're going to zoom in to the carcass now. But Mum was feeding with the youngster, and then Mum just moved off a little bit and now just resting a little bit further back from where this cub is feeding. And there you can see quite nicely the carcass, or what's left of the carcass. I mean, you can see now that that cub's actually feeding off the neck of the impala. It's in and around the head. And there's not too much left. It's basically legs. There's a little bit of the rib cage left, and then the vertebra and the head. So they've done quite a good job with this carcass already. There you can see in the bottom left corner of the picture, that's the rib cage. And these cheetahs, you can see how that youngster is feeding now, is turning his head. They use what we call the carnassial shears. It's those teeth right at the back of the jaw, almost like scissor-like, to cut through cartilage and the softer bone. There you can see going for the ribs. Oh, lifting the carcass. It's amazing to see how they're so precise when feeding. I mean, all the skin's intact. So, and that's a very interesting question. And the cheetah are the ones with the tear marks, just like the football players. When they often play football and they put those black marks under their eyes, is to reflect the light off their eyes so that they can see a little bit better during the daytime. So cheetahs are the only fully diurnal cat. So what that means is that they're mostly active during the daytime. They're not active at night, whereas leopard and lion and hyenas, they're active mostly at nighttime. They are active during the daytime, but mostly into the night. And it's just, there's going to be a vehicle, sorry, that starts now. It's just another ranger moving out of the sighting. But that's just to reflect the light, so that when they're hunting and moving around, they can see much better. There's no glare in their eyes. A beautiful black-collared barbet calling. Those tear marks just do make that cheetah's face so stunning with those hazel-colored eyes. Nikonova, you can identify different cheetah by their spot patterns. So unlike leopards, they don't have specific number of dots just above their mouth and below their nose. But there are other identification spots that you can use. There's spot patternings on the head. You can see often even around the eyes there might be some spots. There you can see, just as a cheetah lifted its head, you can see different spots on the cheeks. So there's a lot of different areas where you have to look and see. You can't just look at one spot. Even with leopards, you have to look at all the spots. And to confirm an ID of a leopard or a cheetah, you'll have to see 2 or 3 areas to make sure that that is the correct cheetah. So, I mean, there might be 3 dots on the left, and then on the right hand side there's quite a long line, and then on the top of the head there's maybe like a U shape. And if you see all those identification features on the cheetah, then you can 100% confirm that that cheetah is the specific one that you're looking for. But it's much more difficult to ID cheetah than it is leopard. So here on Phinda, we're very conservation based, and we focus a lot of our conservation around cheetah as well as rhinos. And so we've got an amazing group of researchers and monitors on Phinda that they have a huge database with all the cheetah that we have here on Phinda, and they are able to identify very quickly which cheetah is which. So they know if this is maybe potentially her first litter, could be her third litter. So that's an amazing thing here on Phinda, that we know exactly how many litters these cheetah have had, how old they are, and almost like their whole life story. So it's quite an amazing thing that we do here on Phinda. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this cheetah, this mother, this is her second litter, and her first litter was successful with 2 cubs. So this one, hopefully she'll be successful with this one youngster. And I talk about successful, I mean, she is already successful with having 1 cub. But the succession we look at is if this cheetah that's feeding now on the carcass, this youngster, grows up to eventually have her own cubs. That's when we'll then say that it was a very successful litter. And so hopefully within the next year and a half, maybe even a year, this female cheetah will be able to move away from her mom and potentially go and find males to mate with, and then hopefully have little young cheetahs of her own. Amazing to see how slender and long those legs are of this cheetah. And Don, thanks for your question. So cheetahs, they'll actually swallow chunks of the meat. They don't actually chew the meat too much. So they do have quite small and specific jaws to pull off meat. And they'll often pull off quite little bits of meat. And as they pull that off, they'll just swallow it whole. They will then digest that all in their stomach. So they don't chew the meat. If you do watch here, you can see it will pull the meat off, maybe just chew it once or twice, and then swallow it. They don't pull off and then chew for a little bit and then swallow. So it will be interesting to see, Dwan, if we do... now, as I was talking about that, now the youngster moved off to the mom. But it might be worth sticking around here a little bit longer, maybe seeing if that cheetah does come back. And we can have a look and watch and see as the cheetah feeds how it just swallows the meat. How beautiful is that? Mom grooming the cub. We're going to spend some more time here with this female cheetah and her cub, see if she potentially does come back to the carcass. But for now, we're going to send you over to Marcus at andBeyond in Ngala.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. So we are in that area where the mamba and 3 cubs were reported to be. So we're driving this stretch of a riverbed, hoping to find maybe that lioness that has got the smallest lion cubs. But yeah, we don't have any luck yet. So we'll just move out of the riverbed and then head towards the bank where there were updates of that mother and 3. So that is where we'll be making our way to. Looks like that lioness is not here. She might have moved the dance, or she might even be somewhere in these thickets that you see here, busy suckling her new cubs. But yeah, we can't really wait to see those new cubs, what they look like. But we could tell that none of them are that white gene. So it will be interesting to see them when she now brings them up and about, when they're at the right age where they will be able to try follow her, or when she has done some kills, she might try go find them. But looks like there is no sign of that lioness here, so we'll just make our way towards that area of the mother and those 3 cubs that we saw yesterday, for those who were tuned in from the sunrise safari. Sorry, I didn't copy that. As I was mentioning, we'll now just drive up the bank, heading where the mother and 3 were last seen. And as we are making our way there, we're hoping that these youngsters will be playful. They will give us a bit of an action, and in the meantime, we'll send you over to Djuma.
Good luck, Marcus. I also need some luck. No signs of Tlalamba just yet. But actually sitting watching the spider has been fascinating. Seeing it move. Look. I know not everybody loves spiders, but actually really fascinating to see how they go about their little daily lives. And one thing I forgot to mention about the silk was, believe it or not, when it comes out of the spinnerets, a specialized gland to which they normally have around 7, it's liquid. The silk is in liquid form, believe it or not. And it's only when the liquid sort of comes into contact with the air that it hardens. There's some sort of reaction, some sort of chemical reaction. And that's when it becomes solid, and that's when it becomes this sort of white, fine silk that we see right now. But it initially starts off in liquid form, which is obviously how the spider's internal organs create it, which is really fascinating. And talking of their internal organs, we speak about insects having hemolymph. They don't actually have a blood circulation system like we do. And the reason when you're driving and insects hit your windscreen, which, oh, I hate, it upsets me every time, it doesn't look like, well, a massacre across your window, because their blood is not red. It's called hemolymph, and it's said to be colorless, but it normally has a yellowish tinge. And they don't have a transport system the way we do, because they draw in oxygen in a completely different way than we do. They don't have lungs, and they don't breathe in oxygen through their mouth, which then needs to be transported around the body. They have a tracheal system all the way down the sides of their abdomen, which pulls in oxygen. So I'm still going to sit here and wait on Miss Tlalamba, but you guys are going to head across to Steve.
Welcome back. We found some elephant tracks coming in from the south. Quite a large herd, in fact. And we started tracking them. We found a young bull standing right here next to the road. I heard some sounds of feeding a little bit off to our right-hand side. So very nice to find elephants. Seem to have gone elsewhere for the last couple of days. After being everywhere. Using the tusk as leverage to break those little sticks. I just heard a poo drop off to our right-hand side. Sometimes when you're on foot and you're walking, and you're looking for elephants, sometimes that's all you hear is the thud of a big ball of elephant dung hitting the ground. There's only so many sounds you need to be aware of out here, and that is one of them. You don't always hear the elephants feeding. You don't always hear the breaking of branches, the rumbles. Sometimes all you hear is the passing of a movement. Normally a 3-year calving interval, Susan, so after the calf is 2, just over 2, somewhere around there, she might be able to fall pregnant again. It's almost a 2-year breeding reproduction, so probably after 2.5 years of weaning the youngster. That math doesn't really work out, does it? This one here is a boy. There's no getting pregnant for him. But you generally see the females with the 3-4-year-old calves. They are pregnant or have a new one with them. It's a constant cycle. There's not much of a gap between. As soon as the body's back to normal, weaning has happened. The conditioner is working very well there. She enjoys this black monkey orange. This road leads us towards Treehouse Dam, so we're going to head over to Treehouse. Maybe we'll find the rest of the herd. These are just, I reckon, just some of the remnants of the bulls finding their way behind the herd. You know, it's very relaxed, everybody. Very relaxed. We came in slowly, moved up a bit more, completely absorbed with his feeding. Amber, I've never seen elephants eating bone. I'm not sure if they do. They're able to access so many more minerals out of the environment that other animals aren't. They do definitely practice coprophagy, the eating of dung, and geophagy, soil. I've never seen them eating bone, but I don't know if it's possible that they do. A lot of animals do. But elephants are able to get nutrients from all of the different parts of the plant that most animals, browsers and grazers, start to lack.
Good morning and welcome back to the show. We've just been walking down a small little game path and following the tracks of a giraffe. And it led us to this Tumbuti tree that's right in front of us. For some of you, you might know that this plant is incredibly toxic and that the milky white latex of this plant is often used as a fish poison and also to kill teeth that are busy rotting. It must be used, however, in very small, minute dosages, otherwise it has the potential of killing you. What we do find amazing is that this giraffe was feeding on the branches of this Tumbuti, and we can see where the leaves have been stripped off. We also find that there's a number of other animal species which can cope very well with a number of toxins. These include Cape porcupine, species such as kudu, and also black rhino, which can feed on large amounts of toxic plants. Just a few other little telltale signs that our giraffe was over here was firstly the dung that's been scattered right over here. While it was busy eating, I just decided to have a quick comfort break. So what we often find with giraffe dung is that it consists of fairly hard pellets, and they are quite large, and inside it is fairly fine-grained material from the leaves that has been rechewed and then gone through the stomach. What we also find is that with giraffe, when they do defecate, they often drop their dung at the height of approximately 1.5, 1.6 meters, and this leads to the scattering of the dung that you'll see right over here when it does fall onto a hard surface. When it comes to similar sized herbivores, such as kudu and eland, they tend to form a much neater little pile because of them being much closer to the ground. And then lastly, we also find a track of a giraffe right over here, starting with the back end of a track over here and stopping somewhere over here. These tracks are often up to 22 centimeters in length, And you can see that it's typically of even-toed ungulate, where it's split in half, making two equal-sized opposites to one another. Good morning to Laurie and welcome to the show. And with your question, if it does have any effects on the giraffe, no, not at all. You sometimes can see that they eat large amounts of it. You can sometimes even see the latex on the side of the mouth. I would probably think that it can potentially lead to some slight form of agitation or blistering, but this doesn't stop the giraffe at all. We're going to continue down our little game path and go and see what we can find.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived! Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the WildEarth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about WildEarth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the WildEarth.tv website. Join us straight after the sunset drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
What can he say? Elephants. I haven't had a quiet moment yet this morning, so I'm just going to allow you all to just enjoy a moment with the elephants moving and feeding.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, where we're still here with this female cheetah and her cub and the impala carcass. And as you can see in frame there, that cub's belly is very, very, very full. Mom's lying off to the side, also with a very full stomach. And they haven't come back to the carcass since you all left us. I think they're extremely full for the moment, and they might just be sitting, digesting their food for a little bit longer before they maybe go tackle that last little bit of the impala carcass. There is a beautiful breezer there. You can see that nice big stomach of that little cub, breathing very, very heavily. I'm sure it's actually sometimes quite uncomfortable for these cheetah. I mean, they've got to feed as quick as possible to try and get as much of that meat that they can before any scavengers potentially come around and take the remains of the carcass. So I'm sure they use a huge amount of energy feeding. And I mean, now they're just resting, trying to gain a little bit more energy to finish off that little impala carcass that mother kindly killed for the cub. But it's been one incredible morning with these cheetah. I mean, so I spent some time with them yesterday, very hungry and moving a little bit, to now spending time with them feeding and seeing them with big stomachs. It's amazing just to see that Mom was successful last night in killing an impala. And Mom's gotten up a bit of a stretch. I wonder if she's going to come back to the carcass. Just checking around for any potential threats, maybe before she does move to the carcass. Or maybe she's just repositioning. I think she was maybe in the sun just a little bit. And it is getting extremely hot, so we're just looking at the weather, and it says that it's going to be about 35 degrees Celsius here on andBeyond Phinda today. So I think it's well worth spending a lot of time today in the shade, and I think these cheetahs are going to be doing just that. As that sun starts to move over and they start to get exposed to the sun, I'm sure they're going to slowly move deeper and deeper into the shade. And it's been quite nice for myself and Odie also. We've found a perfect little spot in the shade of a tree just next to us. And we've really enjoyed our morning here in the shade, watching this female cheetah with her cub. But I think we're going to leave these two cheetahs. They've given us a fantastic show this morning. We're going to just bumble around, see what else we can find. And for now, we're going to send you over to Marcus at andBeyond Ngala with another big cat.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everyone. It is a good thing seeing these cheetahs giving us this show, and they might be or will be staying on the shade exactly as these lions in front of us are doing. So we did manage to relocate on that mother or the female lioness and the 3 cubs. As you can see in front of your screen there, it's only 2 cubs that we see, and the 3rd one is just on the other side of that female. But just because of her size, we can't really see that cub. But yeah, time and again, it looks like she does come on that female's back, and that will be able to see her. I guess we got here, they were still up, but at the moment they look like they're also resting. But if you can look at that posture of that lioness, you see that she's down, resting on her belly. So that will be just another way of delaying these cubs to suckle, because much as this cub suckle, she is taking strain from that, and especially if she hasn't really fed, she hasn't really gotten enough so that we'll be able to judge by looking at her belly if she might have fed since the last time we saw her, but I sort of doubt that she might have fed. So as you can see, she does feel stressed about having to suckle these cubs. Meanwhile, she isn't feeding so regularly herself, and now she's got herself that piece of shade with her youngsters that they can rest and spend the day. And as you can remember, the other day these cubs were actually very active, and it is quite hot now. Much as these cubs need to play, much as they do need to exercise their muscles, but they also do need to rest like that time and again. And it's actually a good thing when they're resting, because that gives that lioness also a chance to rest, recuperate on the energy she might have used during the night. And you see that one cub up like that, looking at the direction, she heard the sound of another vehicle approaching. Then up she went, and looking at the direction where the sound came from. And as you can see, the grass is in front of her, so there is a bit of a breeze, and these lions are downwind of where that sound is coming from. So she was able to pick that up quickly. And you see that her ears are still cocked towards the direction of the sound, yet her eyes are closed, and down she goes. So I was hoping that when we do get here, it is always a great feeling when you see this Birmingham Pride and getting bigger and bigger. So I do agree with you, Oxlava. We have been seeing these ones. It's only, I think, yesterday afternoon or even the morning that we didn't see them. Stand to be corrected, but I think we might have seen them in the morning. I can't really remember, but yeah, it is a good thing seeing this pride getting bigger and bigger. So you might think that the breakaway is inevitable, that they're getting this bigger, but also there are a few more sub-adults that are getting to that age where they will get kicked out of this pride, that it will come down to a sizable number. And I think we'll stick a little bit with these animals here, and in the meantime, let's send you over to Djuma.
Unfortunately, I have not been so lucky. No leopard has returned. No Tlalamba. She'll definitely be here somewhere, and of course it's very, very hot now. It's very late in the day, so she's probably resting and digesting. So we may leave shortly, but I'll be back here this afternoon. Patience really does pay off. You've just got to get through the hard part. And I think there's enough meat from what I can see left on this impala. It's very tricky to tell, but I really do think she'll return. So no luck this morning, I'm afraid. But I will try and bumble on for the remainder and see what else I can find. For now, we're going to send you across to Steve and his elephants.
Well, welcome back to our elephants, everybody. There's a big marula tree that's been pushed over, and a few bulls feeding off of it. One bigger bull, the one at the back, has been pushing everybody around. He just broke a huge branch a moment ago. Sounds like a gunshot. Leather ears are air conditioning system. Is for cooling their blood down. Huge amounts of blood capillaries at the back of the ear. So they can pump anywhere from 6 to 9 litres of blood into the ear a minute. And by flapping, cooling down just like a vehicle radiator. The skin behind the ear is very thin, so that blood passes close to the surface and is cooled back into the body. And they've only got the tusks and molars for grinding. Tusks for digging and gouging, and the molars for grinding the teeth, or grinding the food. There's no teeth in the front. It's all lip. See how he puts it in towards the back. The molars turn it over. He's stripping off the bark like chewing gum. You're right there, Dowie.
All good.
Spend all day chewing. The jaw muscles must be incredibly powerful. Clinton, as far as I'm aware, they're constantly growing. Big boy. Some will grow longer than others, genetically, just from a trait point of view. But once they break off, I think they're done. They grow from the base, so they're constantly growing. So even if it does break off, I think there's still some growth that happens, but it'll never recover to where it was. They grow very slowly. They're a very hard object, very hard substance. Impala's alarming behind us. Simon elephants eating all the time, day and night. They have short periods of rest, but they're constantly eating. Always eating. Very poor digestive system. They got to keep putting food in their mouth. They eat all day, all night. Periods of short rest. Probably 20, 22 hours a day they're eating. Okay, well, we might try to reposition, get another view of our elephants. Meantime, I'll send you back over to the bushwalk team.
Good morning and welcome back. At the moment, we decided to take a small little break underneath this beautiful marula tree when we discovered a number of guinea fowl feathers. At first, I thought that it was possible that these guinea fowls were actually roosting right over here, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It actually seems if they were killed by a bird of prey. So quite often when we find that there is long tear marks on the vein of this feather, or the shaft of the feather, this is quite often where a bird of prey has pulled the feathers out, and this is a mark that's been left by the beak. If it was a mammal predator, the tip normally would have been broken off the section from here to here, and would have been looking quite untidy, like if it was yanked off with a nail clipper. So the reason why we know that this is guinea fowl feathers is the uniform greyish-black colour with the little white spots. It's actually quite interesting if there's a story in Greek mythology that relates to these white spots. And the name of the guinea fowl Nimida, Meleagris, is also related specifically to this story. So Meleager was a prince in Greek mythology who had his uncles assassinated. And then short after, his mother killed him. The sisters then grieved and was turned into guinea hens, and their tears that fell to the ground as what created these white spots on the feathers of the guinea fowl. So in Southern Africa, we've got two species of guinea fowl. The most commonly found is known as a helmeted guinea fowl. We also often use these birds as indicators of water, as that they will lead us to water. Other than that, they're also quite a valuable source of food. And we even found that when the Portuguese arrived to Southern Africa, that they actually collected these and took them to their colonies in Brazil, where guinea fowls and guinea fowl eggs are still seen as a delicacy. Another feather that we actually found right over here was that of one of the glossy starlings. If you can see, it's got a bright blue iridescent sheen to the feathers. What I find quite fascinating about this colour is that the colour does not really exist, and this is an optical illusion. So what happens is that the structure of the feather, combined with melanin crystals that are excreted onto the feather, creates minute little crystals, which refracts and bends the light to create these beautiful iridescent colours. They have done a number of studies on these feathers where they actually will grind them up in a lab and then put them underneath UV light. So the feather structure itself is just as important to provide the light spectrum, but on its own, the powder does not reflect. One of the things I find quite interesting about feathers is that they're one of the features that defines birds. We also find that some of the early dinosaur forms also started developing feathers, and this would have suggested that these feathers at first would have been used for insulating the reptile, which would have suggested that they would have been moving away from ectothermic temperature regulation. We're going to continue our walk, start walking down to the dam, see what we can go and find there. But in the meanwhile, we're handing you over to Lauren.
Dwarf bitterns, and believe it or not, they look quite similar to greenbacked herons. They're closely related from a distance. But the shape of the neck really gives them away. It's tricky to tell from, we're actually quite far away from this bird at Gowrie Dam. The dwarf bitterns have a really sort of heavy streaking on the chest, and they normally have a red eye. But the juveniles don't, so that makes it, again, a little bit tricky, but I think it's a dwarf bittern. I just love them, and they do eat sort of aquatic animals, so frogs, fish, and aquatic insects. So hanging around a dam is the most perfect place to be. Okay, we're going to bumble onto quarantine, and you guys are going to head over to Marcus.
Good luck to Lauren on her Bumble. Hopefully she'll find us something interesting to see. I am still here with that Mara and 3 cubs. That looks like they're not doing much except being lions. Because this is what these lions will do best, especially during the day and at this sort of weather. So they did find themselves a very beautiful patch of shade that they can use to spend at least these hot hours of the day. And yeah, there might be those movements time and again that those lions might be moving from just one shade to the next. But other than that, they won't really put much effort on moving. More so for that lioness that has got these 3 youngsters to look after. So for this lioness, it's not really an easy job rearing after youngsters like this, and in fact being successful on them reaching adulthood, because this lioness needs to protect them from maybe hyenas, other lions, and also gets to hunt so she can lactate even beautifully for these youngsters. So for now, as we can see, I don't think there will be any much movements from these lions. We'll keep bumbling on and see what else we fit on the way. And in the meantime, we'll send you over to Djuma. Let's see what Steve has for us.
Well, welcome to Treehouse Dam, where our animals have come down to drink and are still coming. So it is wonderful to just spend some quiet moments with the giants of the African wilderness. Look, we are truly blessed for such peaceful scenes. The hippo is a little bit upset though. His turf has been impeded on. And this bull is just being very naughty, isn't he? Trying to entice the others to swim with him. Bernie Lulu commented hippo and elephants. Yes, well, I don't think the hippo is as excited about it as we are. Jerome, no, there's nothing hippos can do against elephants. They're just too big. Anything else that comes in will have a problem.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Tswalu. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with WildEarth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Tswalu's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a WildEarth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
Wonderful afternoon it will be. Beautiful way to come to the end of our morning drive. Nice and peaceful here. Definitely one of my favorite ways to end the morning. I do hope you've enjoyed the sunrise safari today, coming to you from all of the wonderful locations. I do thank you for your questions and comments. Look forward to seeing you once again this afternoon for the sunset safari. Same time, same place, followed by the fireside chat. Until this afternoon, have a wonderful day further. Until then, goodbye.